#1 podcast for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money.
Yo, making money. All right, so let's talk about that. Because this thing is, I joke around, but this thing is not called the 100,000aire podcast or the 100,000aire, group. This is the Millionaire Car Salesman, group. So, LA, what does the word millionaire mean? Obviously, besides the numerical number of a million, what does that mean? That's a powerful name, Millionaire Car Salesman. What do you think of when you hear that?
I think of somebody that does more than just the basic, right? Someone who actually not only made money in the automotive industry or made money, period, and then they accumulated real wealth. Because honestly, the crazy thing is, according to American standards, you're just okay if you have $1 million to actually be called wealth. It actually be called wealthy. You need to have 5 million plus. So that's the real deal. And so when I think about the millionaire car salesman, I think about a person that has multi-million dollars.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Again, there are so many things I want to just get off my just like this is like I think our 12th to 13th episode, and the reality is that we've had guests after guests after guests. I mean, we've had people like Ali Rada, Frank Kennedy.
Yep.
Both of those gentlemen sell over 100 units a month. Both of those people are millionaire or multimillionaire automotive professionals that are on the showroom floor. We've had multi millionaires, future billionaires on the program, like Bradley. We've had the one of the top customer service reps in the world, which is Shep Hyken. We're gonna have Coach Michael Burt. All these people are phenomenal millionaires, but I want to take it back and I want to talk about our people. You know what I mean, in the automotive industry. Now, for me, millionaire is a mindset. I want to be clear about that because there are a lot of people like Warren Buffett. Like I think he drives like an 8-year-old Toyota Camry or something like that. He doesn't act like a multimillionaire or multi-billionaire, but as far as like spending and splurging, but he is. I mean, there's different types of millionaires. LA, have you ever heard of the book called The Millionaire Next Door?
I sure have.
All right, so folks, that's the first recommendation of reading that I'm going to give you right now is The Millionaire Next Door. That is a great book. And The Millionaire Next Door, it basically, talks about two different types of millionaires. One is the very flashy that spends and splurges, but he keeps making that money. And then there's one that's extremely frugal. And let me just be clear to you, there's just like in regular sales, there's not just one way to do it. There's not just one close, one objection, one rebuttal. There's multiple. There's the same thing for the blueprint to becoming a millionaire or multimillionaire. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that again, folks. There are multiple ways that you can become a millionaire or multimillionaire. So that's the whole aspect of what this podcast is about. What our Facebook group is about is to hear from all the different people that are at different stages of either becoming a millionaire for the first time. There's people that have had millions of dollars, have lost it, had it, lost it. There's people that are millionaires that are trying to get to the multimillionaire level. There are multimillionaires that are trying to get to that centimillionaire level. That's the $100 million mark. And there's people that are worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that are trying to get to that $1 billion mark. So again, like I was saying here, there's no way to just say there's one way to do this. So LA, talk to me about that in your opinion, like how different or diversified are the strategies to become a millionaire? What's up, Mopar Mike? Keep going,
It's
LA.
Man, it's a whole lot of strategies. That's the whole thing. I think when you look at it, it's definitely a lot of strategies, but I think it always boils down to just a few, real ways that you're going to 100% do it. Because in all reality, right, your income mostly it cannot be dependent on you, right? You got to have multiple streams of income if you're going to be a true millionaire. And so that's just something that I've learned. I mean, Sean, I know you got multiple companies, you got multiple people that work with you in your company. So having multiple streams of income, and that's really one of the things that it boils down to.
100%, man. I'm just typing into everybody. What's up, people? Like, comment, and ask questions. All right, like, comment, ask questions. Okay, so The first thing I'm gonna say is this. I'm gonna go back to it and I'm gonna get into it. I was just trying to let people, jump on online. I know we're getting, we got some people on Facebook, we got some people on YouTube, and then people are gonna, be catching the reruns. Again, I want to reiterate, there isn't just one way to become a millionaire. But LA, before we even break it down, let's talk about the struggle. Yeah, I mean, like LA, you do pretty well financially. Have you ever been poor before?
100%, man. It's crazy.
I will talk about it. How poor were you? Like, I mean, like, this is not rehearsed either. I want to just find out. I'm gonna talk that shit, man, right now. Like, because people
All right.
think just because we're like jet setting and we're all over the place that we, that's how it always is. So, or was. So, tell me, how poor were you
Right.
when you were growing up?
So I'm trying to tell you, it's not even growing up. Because I mean, growing up, we were poor, but we didn't really know we were poor. Because my mom would do stuff like, buy myself and my sister let's say a hamburger or something from McDonald's, and she'll be like, "I'm just gonna take a bite of it to make sure I don't have no poison." In it. But really, she didn't have enough to buy all three of us a sandwich. So that's how she would eat. She would take a bite of our sandwiches, and then we would eat the rest of it. And that's how we kind of grew up. So she made it fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
um, taking trips. If we went somewhere, it was to the beach, it was to the park. It was places where you didn't have to spend money, and you just enjoyed yourself. So that's how it was with me growing up.
Yeah, no, like thank God, like we had food on the table, but sometimes it got rough. Like I remember, eating sandwiches that were just ketchup sandwiches, or like peanut butter fluff
Yep,
sandwiches, or like sugar
man,
water,
same
drinking
thing.
sugar water. You know what I mean? Again,
Hmm.
when I grew up in Queens, in New York, like 39th Place in Sunnyside, Queens, yo, that shit was crazy. Sometimes we had, a little bit of money, sometimes we didn't. My mom always was, she tried to shield me from that. But man, I remember, and this is some embarrassing shit, and it is all true. I couldn't even afford like cheap Chuck Taylor sneakers. Do you remember, like, like on the West Coast, like Snoop and all them, they use Converse? Man, this is how poor I
Yeah.
was. All right, like this is crazy. My mother had a pair. I'll never forget a pair of red LA Gear like fake Converse shoes. I mean, like, you know how ghetto that is. It's like, how cheap are like Chuck Taylors? They're Chuck Taylors. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even have the real Converse, dog. I had red, and they were hand me downs from my mom, because my mom was a short woman. You know what I mean? So like, my mom gave me her old. I'll never forget red. They weren't even orange, fam. Can you believe that? She made me wear some red, like, red LA Gear Converse fake ass Chuck Taylor shoes. That's probably the worst,
Wow.
man. That shit was the worst. Like going to
It's
school.
crazy.
Yeah, but that made me. But you know what? Man, like when you're a little kid, like I always used to be like a dork and a nerd when I was like real young, and then I went to a boys' home, and that shit made me grow up real quick. So when I was 12 to 15, I was in a boys' home called Bonnie Bray in North Jersey, and like, kids have no mercy. And so like I rolled up there not knowing what was really cool or not cool and that type of stuff apparently. But them people, after torturing me on like the dumbass shit I had, like that's when that changed of like possessions for me. Like I was like, look, I don't care how poor I'm gonna be, I'm gonna have some fresh to death sneakers. So I had Jordans. My outfit might be like $10, like a black like sweatsuit, but I had $110 pair of Jordans on. You remember that, brother? Back in the day?
Yeah, man. Little stuff like that, man. Shopping at Buster Brown, we had Bobos. They cost
Yeah,
$1.99.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? The
oh, yeah,
commercial was weird. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Okay, so what would you like? Did you ever go hungry though?
Man, it was crazy. My going hungry probably was like later on in my life.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, once you become an adult and, it's like you grinding and you're trying to figure stuff out. There was nights that I didn't have meals. There were nights, even after, it's crazy, after my son was born, where I'm like, I'm eating, the kid's cereal, like, dang, I'm feeling bad, because I'm eating the kid's cereal because I ain't have enough to get myself some food. In the same situation, I'll get, my son's mother might buy me a sandwich or, do something like that. I had girls that would hook me up in some way, shape, or form. So that was probably, and especially from what I remember, um, later on in my life.
I'm gonna tell you, I never had that problem being hungry until I went to prison. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, like, when I was 19 to 22, again, here's the crazy part. Like, for people who don't realize this, but man, prison sucks, first of all. And then, second of all, is that I was
It's
19,
boring.
not just born, but listen to me, fam. This is on some real shit though. When I was 19 years old, like I was living it up in the club scene and all this other stuff. But when I got locked up, my friends like Billy, Anthony, disappeared. You know, all the people I used to mess with in the clubs disappeared. My girlfriend, like 2 days after I got locked up, I was with her for like a year and a half. She was gone. Everything was gone. You know, and then family and stuff for the first. Like in friends, like for the first couple months, like, oh my God, you're in jail. And then, but then after like the first year, like you're dead. And that's what people don't realize. There's a lot of people that are incarcerated that, and it's worse even for women, but I'm just saying men or women, when they get locked up, even if they have family, after a certain time, especially after a year, God forbid you're doing more than a 2-year bid, like it's like you're walking dead. You're like in some other universe. And during that time, there's times I didn't have money for commissary. And unless you haven't paid attention to this shit on TV, like prison food sucks. So I remember being like hungry as hell, not wanting to eat that disgusting ass food, especially if I was in the county when I was being transported and stuff. And so, like for me, that type of stuff like really stuck with me. All those things that I went through when I was a kid, like in the streets of New York or like in these like poor ass neighborhoods or getting locked up. When I came home, I just didn't want to have any of that ever happen to me again. And so like I would just work really, really hard in grinding. And I'll be honest with you folks, like when I first, and I gotta be careful what I say because y'all coming after Cardi B's throat, so I gotta watch what I'm gonna say. All I'm gonna say is this: when I first got into the automotive industry, like remember, I was only 19 years old, and my whole life was a whole different world than what it is now. I'm 42 years old as an adult, as responsible. But when I first got locked up, I was like, when I first came home, I was like, well, if this doesn't work out in the car dealership, I could just go back to New York and do what I was doing before. And that was like my insurance policy in my head that if this doesn't work out, I could go revert back to the other crazy shit that I used to do. But I got really good at it, man, and I started making a lot of money. But here's the next problem I want to talk about is young people that are not guided with proper wisdom. They're gonna buy dumbass shit. Like literally I bought like rims and jewelry and going to the club and splurging, because when you're on the street and stuff like that, when you hustle, you have money for like bail and you have money for God forbid a case and that type of stuff. But you don't want to keep possessions because, it could be gone tomorrow. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're always spending it. And I used to wear my shit on me, like whether it's jewelry or whatever. And so it was just a paradigm shift because, man, if I could go back, that's the first thing I'm going to say to people in our industry now. If you start getting a paycheck, I heard my daughter, LA, check this out. Karen just told me in a week, she made like 3 G's on the floor in 1 week. Shout out to Tiana. Today's her birthday. And so if I was gonna get, it's for real, I'm proud of my daughter. So, if I'm gonna talk to my daughter or I'm gonna talk to another young automotive professional, and if I could just give them some freaking wisdom of the stupid shit that I did to not do it, it would simply be this. Once you start making that money, do not spend it on dumb shit. Do not spend it on just clothes and alcohol and clubbing or like rims, and especially don't spend it on depreciating assets. So let's talk about LA. When you first started making money, you ever buy some dumb shit?
Oh yeah, I'm sure I have, man. It's crazy. And you know what's wild because I spent my money on. People would say it's a positive thing, but I spent my money traveling, experiences. I mean, we would just, go to Vegas and, spend, being out with the girls and, all that different type of stuff. That's what I really blew a lot of money on,
Mm.
that type of stuff. So it could be, maybe not as bad as something, physical, but it definitely was bad because, I really wish I had all of that money got spent. It's crazy.
Man, I'm gonna tell you some of the dumb shit that I've done.
Yeah.
I put out, when we were getting this Karina Bradley, situation, I actually, I was committed I was going to spend $50,000 I had contracted for to buy 10% of a New York rap group called TF Mafia. Thank God I only put $25,000 down. But yeah, I spent $25,000 cash. And I own still technically, but the rap group is defunct now. But I own 5% of a major New York City rap group called TF Mafia. I mean, like, dude, I've spent and wasted hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on dumb shit, probably millions of dollars, to be honest with you. I've just wasted over the years. and that's stuff you can never get back. But like I could think of it as I've wasted money, or I could think of it as experience, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
for now, let me just tell you a couple of books. Like I started by sharing with you the book Millionaire Next Door. Okay, one of the
Yep.
absolute best books that I've ever read about money that helped me, thank God, when I first came home was Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki is like a classic. I mean, that's like, you know, like I don't know, like Dre and M. You know what I mean? Like that's just like classic, like just
It
righteous
is.
information. So, have you read that book?
100%, man.
All right. So talk to the
The
people about the
shift.
book. What'd you like
All
about the
right.
book?
So the shift is all right. When my man, basically, what happened? One of the things that happened was they were selling, comic books, and when he talked about how, after selling comic books and doing that whole thing, and then his rich dad was offering him money to come and work at his store for, three, four, $5 an hour, which was actually more than adults were making, and he said no to it. It was just the intense, just desire of being like, I want the security of making my little $5 an hour, but also saying no because you can't pay me my time. You can't pay me enough for my time, and that's one of the main things I got out of that book.
I want to talk that shit right now because I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you right now. This is my show. This is your show. This is our group. So I'm tired of people telling me like, "Oh, you gotta watch what you say." Listen to me. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to speak from my heart because
Yeah.
what I got out of that book was the rich dad versus like the poor dad. The poor dad was the one that was educated. Remember? I don't know if he had I think he had a
Yeah.
master's degree. He was like he
Mm-hmm.
got he worked for like he was a professor and blah 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 blah. And that's what's a problem with this country, man, is that people are like they're sleep at the wheel. They believe the bullshit that the society tells them. That you have to work hard in school to get good grades. Bullshit. My grades sucked in school. It doesn't mean I was stupid. I'm
Mm-hmm.
smart as hell. I just didn't like wasting my time with dumbass shit back in the day. You got to work hard to get good grades so you could get a good education. So what? So you could be a happy consumer. You know what drives me crazy is the fact that you could get at an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old level, you could get $200,000 in debt while you're trying to get your master's degree. The government will allow you to put yourself $200,000 in debt, but the same government will not give an 18 or 20-year-old a $25,000, small business loan so they could turn around and become an entrepreneur. How does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm gonna allow
Absolutely.
you to become an indentured servant for the rest of
Mm.
your motherfucking life. You know what I mean? But I will not allow you to get up out of the class that you're in right now. It makes no sense to me. And so
But
don't make
that's
it.
what they want.
But yeah, just stupid, yeah, smart enough so they can pull the levers in the factory, but dumb enough to not realize that they're getting screwed until they're dead. It's crazy. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I'm
Yeah.
just saying this right now. If you want to be like a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, granted. But do you know that the majority of people, that means over 51% of people, they don't give a shit what the job is. They want to have a good quality of life. That again, maybe half people, believe it, less than half of the people out there are looking for specialty field. I talk to people every day, people that are dental hygienists, people that are chiropractors, people that are this and that. I'm like, why do you want to do that stuff? Oh, because I need a job, man. I need a job. I was LA. I forgot where the hell I was at. Last trip I was at, I think it was in Vero Beach, whenever. Like, one of the last trips I was at, my Uber driver, Vegas, that's what it was. It was when I was in Vegas with Brad Lee, and I flew out there a couple weeks ago. My Uber driver is a female. She was awesome, and she was, just talking to me about how life is rough, and, she's trying to go to school to be a dental hygienist. And I'm like, why? Why do you want to go to school to be a dental hygienist? Well, I don't know, because I need to get a job, and that pays a little well. I'm like, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? People are selling their souls. They're selling their years on their life for some bullshit mediocrity, complacency of stuff that just doesn't make sense. Whereas you are in control. Like, I'll give my daughter as an example. She was a 4.0, graduated like, with honors, and all throughout high school, 4.0. She went to college for a year and a half, doing what? Working at a fucking fry cook. You know what I mean? Broke as hell. She's been on the floor less than a month, and last week she made $3,000 selling cars off of three cars. I think one of them was $1,600, and one of them was 1,000 something. One of them, I don't know. It was off of three or four sales. She made $3,000 in commissions. I mean, God bless America. Who the hell can do that being 19 years old? Tiana just turned 20 today. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I think that we're not realizing that the most precious commodity that we have is our hours on the clock. LA, I wish you could see this, bro, because I got this orange hourglass right here. And that's what it is, man. This is all we got. This is the most precious commodity. These are the seconds in the hourglass of our life. And if we're giving them away for some bullshit mediocre job or something like that
Yeah.
we're really not in love with, I mean, why live at all? Come on, speak to him, LA.
Man, you're absolutely right. Like I said, you can't pay me enough for my time. And the truth about it is, A and B students always work for C and D students. That's how it works. Because C and D students are the ones who are in, they got the ingenuity. They're thinking of ways. How can I do it? I mean, if you were the kind of person that was paying somebody to do your homework, you're an entrepreneur, right? Listen, let me get somebody else to do the work and let me reap the rewards from it. It's one way to be an entrepreneur. And so these are the type of things. Again, it's really sad how people waste time. They don't understand the value of time. And I watch it. I sit here and I watch people, spend time doing things that bring their lives absolutely zero value. And it's like you don't even realize it. They're just, man. Our people are in a deep, dark place. I had a millionaire by the name of John Lennon told me. He said, "Man, our people are in a deep, dark place because we just don't know, and we don't know what we don't know." So let me real quick give an example of the book that really shifted for me. It's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, and it's by George Samuel Clayson. And that book really changed my life because it talked about how an average and ordinary person who grew up just like the rest of us, built wealth for himself, right? Basically all the lessons he learned. I mean, it just totally made sense to me. And it's written, kind of like a biblical thing. So you got with the thys and the does, things like that. So if you enjoy reading the Bible at all, The Richest Man in Babylon it is a story. It's a beautiful story about how to become wealthy. So that changed my life.
Listen, I'm saying right now, I don't know if you know this, but Ricardo Miglioris, that he always talks about that book. His dad, who is really brilliant businessman, is the one that like just kind of passed like a lot of knowledge and wisdom to him and his brother Phil Miglioris. Shout out to the $1 million jujitsu experts. Sixth
Yeah.
and fifth degree Helson Gracie black belts. They're going to be future interviewees on the Millionaire podcast. But LA. Absolutely. You know what I mean? The richest, dude in Babylon. Richest man, I know. You know what I mean? But okay. So what was the single most powerful lesson from that book for you?
I think it really centers around the five laws of
Absolutely.
gold.
You know what
I think that's one of them. But I also believe and this is a friend of mine wrote this book, and this thought process came from The Richest Man in Babylon. He said, "Work like a slave, but think like a master."
Ooh.
Work like a slave, but think like a master. See, one of the problems is that people do. They work hard, work hard, work hard, but you're thinking like a slave. You're not thinking how a master thinks. And so, man, when I look at Sean Bradley and I look at his work ethic, I'm like, man, that's what I'm talking about. Work ethic is one of the number one things that will pay you if you're thinking correctly. So that's the one thing that I get out of that book.
Yeah.
Shout out to my man Collis Temple who wrote that book.
That's what's up. Now let's talk about that too. Let's talk about work ethic. Like all these people want to, they want to be super rich. I joke around and say, look, it took me a long time to be an overnight success. How about 15 years? You guys realize that a week from today, shout out LA, bop. A week from today will be my 15 years owning Dealer Synergy, yo. 15 years. Think about that for a second. That's crazy. People keep talking that shit about me, about this, about that, but I've owned Dealer Synergy for 15 straight years. I've been serving the dealership community. Over 1,600 rooftops in 3 different countries and 60,000 automotive professionals, managers, and owners I personally trained, and hundreds of thousands of people have been influenced by my books, my articles, or my videos online. I got I'm pushing 6 million views online, 4 million off of just one YouTube channel, Sean V. Bradley TV. So my point being here is that we need to turn around and hustle hard and work hard, because too many people, they want that. They want to be rich. They want to be successful, but they're not willing to do whatever it fucking takes to be successful. And you know what I'm saying? LA, I appreciate you saying that, because there's a lot of owners out there that don't do that. You know what I'm saying? That are not about it. But yo, you see me, I'm up now. Like right now, it is 9:51, and we're doing the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. We're just trying to drop knowledge,
Live
and we're
on
doing it live in the Millionaire Car Salesman group. We don't have to be
and
doing this.
YouTube.
And YouTube. So like, check this out. Like, I got this like right here. So I got YouTube streaming right here. So I got the YouTube streaming off of my tripod right here. I got, this going. But why are we doing this for? Because we love this industry, And going back to, again, Ellie, I want to hammer this home. If you want the things that the average person doesn't have, you've got to be willing to do the average things. I mean, you got to be willing to do the things the average person doesn't want to do. Sorry, I'm watching myself on 3 different screens, so I'm gonna repeat that again because I fucked that up. So again, if you want the things that the average person does not have, you've got to be willing to do the things that the average person isn't willing to do, like work your ass off, sacrifice, and go hard at this stuff. Like that Eric Thomas video that made him like really famous. He didn't invent that story, but I like it. That breathe story is dope. It's like, if you have got to want to be successful as bad as you want to breathe, and only if you are that level where you want to be so successful so bad that you're willing to do whatever it takes legally, ethically, and morally, then you'll be successful. I think it was Kennedy, President Kennedy said that if there's a human being, if there's a man that's willing to sacrifice their life to kill the president, right? Again, then there's nobody's gonna be able to stop them. I'm just trying to give you an extreme thing. If someone makes a conscious decision, if a human being makes the conscious decision that they are willing to do whatever it takes to fulfill their objective, there isn't a man or woman alive that's gonna be able to stop that person. And again, I'm talking about in a positive way. I was using that extreme, quote from Kennedy, is that if you make that conscious decision that you will be successful, you will be happy, you will be wealthy, you will be whatever it is that you want to be, and the world will not stop you. You have to have that conflagration, that large destructive fire of passion and tenacity that's burning through you that will not stop. Talk to him, LA. What's up?
Yeah. Yeah, see, and a lot of people don't know about this, but the number one book everybody talks about is Think and Grow Rich. And the very first rule it talks about is you have to have a burning desire, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a burning desire. That is the beginning. It's the kindling of it all. And so if you don't have that, and you'd be surprised, there's a lot of people that don't. Everybody wants the $1 million lifestyle. They want to have a 9-to-5 work ethic. You know what I'm saying? But you got to have that burning desire. You got to want it so bad that you're willing to do whatever it takes, like we said, legally, ethically, morally speaking, in order to make it happen. And that's got to be what you got to do. You got to make it happen. You can't just want it to happen. It can't be like, oh, it'd be nice if you can't even just pray for it to happen. Like prayer without works is dead, right? So prayer, even though you better do it, right? It's not all it takes. You got to go out there and make stuff happen.
Okay, so let's transition. You talked about, okay, so we've got the mindset. How do we get the education? So, like, what did you do to start to educate yourself on becoming successful and start accumulating wealth?
Well, I believe that a mentor is the key.
Oof.
I love the fact that you have the mentorship program in the Millionaire Car Salesman, because without that, I just don't know how I can be successful. Now, my mentors changed, right? Because what happened was, let's just take the music industry, for example. There were certain things that I wanted to know, and then I'm like, man, I want to know how this works. Someone knows how this works. So I would hang out with the engineers who knew how the stuff worked. But then there became a point in time where the streets of Philly couldn't really teach me about, the industry anymore. So I had to go to Full Sail University, not for the documented education, but because I was around all of those people, those professors and lab instructors there are all people who work in studios. They're live. They're in the industry now. And so that's the reason why I chose that school, because I'm working with people who are currently doing it. And so I asked them questions. I got more of an education. I mean, I love Full Sail, but I got more of an education outside of my class than inside of the class, just because of who I was around. I met a gentleman that my second day of class that was ended up being a valedictorian. His name is Grady. Got shot out to Grade A. I forget his name on Facebook. He's probably around somewhere. But man, he just taught me everything and just allowed me to touch all his equipment and just mentored me just day in day out. We live in the same apartment complex. So it's things like that. And then even when I don't have a physical mentor around me, because I know that's gonna be people's excuse. I don't have a mentor. Well, damn it, go to YouTube, right? It's called YouTube University. Go figure it out. The internet, you're now in a place where people who can be your mentor, Sean Bradley can be your mentor, and he don't even have to know it. You see what I'm saying? Because he's all over Facebook, YouTube. He's all over the internet. So there's zero reason why a person can't have a mentor in any field out there. Because any field out there, there are people out there talking about it. So you can learn from it.
No, absolutely. So for me, I would agree with you. My mentors have changed, over the years, in different capacities, from the street to, to the car dealership world. Man, one of my first mentors in the automotive industry was, or still is my man Charlie Kearns. You met Charlie, so Charlie. Is one of the best car guys I've ever met. He was my GSM at Weiss Little Lincoln Mercury Mazda. I know he's influenced other people like Carter Nieces, and he's just a great car guy. Then there was Michael Wins from Dealer Skins, and Gabriel Kratcher from Dealer Skins. Then over the years, it's been, like I got influence from people like Dr. Willie Jolly from the National Speakers Association, Danielle Casmi, from, RBI training, and just like Paulie Zance, those like from my people from New York. I know that might sound crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
I get influence and I get inspiration, I get motivation, I get education from a myriad of places. And that's the thing, is that first of all, you could have more than one mentor simultaneously. You could have a mentor that's even on different spectrums of philosophy and strategy. And again, I would agree with you, LA. Having a coach or a mentor is not a sign of weakness. A coach or a mentor is really intelligent. I mean, if you look at like Michael Jordan, just because he's just a prolific major athlete. We've all heard the stories from the fact that he's obviously had a coach from the Chicago Bulls, but then he's got different types of coaches. Then he had like personal coaches like Tim Grover. Again, like people like Tiger Woods. They've got people that coach them professionally, athletically, just in a myriad of different ways. And the other thing that you said that's really powerful is that if you don't have a person that's a live coach, a live mentor, I mean, there's YouTube. That's free. There's every one of these amazing, brilliant people, like Dr. Stephen Covey, or Tony Robbins, or Deepak Chopra, or Grant Cardone, or anybody that people think is intelligent or awesome. You could find them on YouTube for free. You also have Bradley on Demand. You have Lightspeed VT. You've got like all those other like paid services. Then you've got workshops and seminars. So you know what?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I saw? I'm gonna see if I could try to bring it up. I didn't even know this. You know what I saw on Facebook the other day? I love social media. Do you know that Warren Buffett, I think in the 50s or 60s, right? He invested $100 in a Dale Carnegie class. He said it was one of the best investments he's ever done in his life. I'm gonna repeat
Mm-hmm.
that. Warren Buffett invested over $100 in the course for Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that's one of the things that I find, is that a lot of these really super successful people, they invest in themselves, in professional development, in personal development, in books, in reading, in workshops, in immersion. Talk about that, brother.
Absolutely. And see, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. That's cost. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it costs $500." Well, you don't really know how much you're losing by not knowing. And so people take the ignorance and just go. They rather be ignorant. They rather be broken ignorant than pay out a couple dollars in order to really invest in themselves and flip that, flip that, flip that. Man, I can't tell you how many. I mean, man, I go to seminars. Listen, we were just at 10X Growth Con. I'm always at a seminar. I mean, I can't understand what my life would be like if I wasn't in those types of environments. And then on top of that, you get the chance to network with people who are like-minded. Why? Because you're there at the same seminar as you are. So obviously, they got the same, at least somewhat the same thought process. And so networking is huge.
Wow, where am I going to go with that? Let's go. Let's digress a second here. What you just said was, man, platinum, brother. What you said about the fact about us networking. Do you follow me? About like, like Shakespeare said, "Show me your friends, and I tell you who you are." When we were at the Lightspeed Summit, we were with Tim Grover, with Coach Burt, with Brad Lee, with Jared Glant. We were with all these super producing, highly successful business owners, entrepreneurs. They were freaking phenomenal. And now we're working with Coach Burt. I'm giving, Coach Burt logins to Bradley and Demand, and him and his people are going through Bradley and Demand. I'm logging into Coach Burt on Demand, going through Coach Burt on Demand. Shep Hyken I gave him access to Bradley and Demand. Shep Hyken gave me access to Shep Hyken and Hyken on Demand. And it's just amazing, and I love watching and learning all of the content that's on my platform, because it's not all me, it's majority of me, but I love watching Tony Ann, I love watching you, I love watching anybody that is in the field trying to do more, be more, and achieve more. And again, iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you, at my level, there's not a ton of people that have 20 plus years automotive internet sales, automotive BDC, automotive CRM, automotive digital marketing, but I do. So when I find people that are at my level or close to that level, I love to synergize. I love to brainstorm. I love to debate, to volley questions and answers. And I love to share information, because that's how we get better. LA, you got to realize something, man. And I want your opinion on this. I believe that the only thing that really changes, before we die, are the people that we meet, right? And the books that we read.
Yep.
All the other shit is just the same shit over and over again. You eat, sleep, shit, breathe, eat, sleep, shit, breathe. You do the same shit over day. The things that really change us are the people that we come in contact with. The people that we come in contact with, and the books that we read. That's what really shapes us to who we are and who we're gonna be.
Right. And I'll just expand upon that, the books that we read, the knowledge, that we receive, which, books are huge, right? Because you can get experience from people who aren't even around anymore. Reading Sam Walton's book, absolutely amazing, right? The kind of stuff that you're going to learn from that phenomenal book. So, yeah, absolutely. You're on top of it, 100%.
Okay, so let's say this. Okay, so so they're reading these books, they're getting educated. Because I have a question right here. So there's a couple people in here that are asking questions. So Mopar Mike says, "What would you say would be the most fruitful way to generate your own leads? If I want to be in control of my own destiny, I need to spend money to make money. For someone like myself trying to brand myself, what would be the smartest way financially to generate my own leads?" Okay. So, Mike, I'm going to tell you this right now, and listen to me carefully, because I'm going to give you the answer. Okay? What I would say is, before you spend any money, I would start creating content, because you could do that for free. Okay? Videos are one of the absolute best things that a salesperson, an automotive salesperson, can do, because they're freaking free. If you just type into Google right now, 2014 Toyota Sienna NJ, there's going to be a video that I created with Joe Argento that's still there for video search engine optimization. Any salesperson, in my eyes, if I was going to, my daughter, it's her birthday, she's probably partying right now, I don't know, but if I was going to talk to my daughter, if I'm going to talk to Mopar Mike, a friend, and I was going to say this, every single salesperson should create an arsenal, an entire asset content library of videos. What kind of videos? I know that Mopar Mike and my daughter both work for Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Holy shit, that's a lot of franchises. That's a lot of models. So I would basically review all of your entire lineup. But what I would do first is I would do some research. Before you just create more crap that goes into the internet, figure out what spin you could have on it, whether it's funny, whether it's serious, whether it's blended funny and serious, where you do the reviews, how you do them. You got to figure out what your differentiator is, because there's a lot of content online. Why should somebody choose your content? But I would absolutely highly recommend that you start to figure out, in my opinion, you want to start to figure out, how you could start to create videos on a daily basis. Let's go through the lineup right now. The Ram 1500, the Ram, let's go. So the Ram, the Ram series. Then you've got the Jeep, the Grand Cherokees, the Renegades, the Compasses. Then you've got the Hellcats. You got so many amazing vehicles. You've got SUVs, you've got minivans, you've got sports cars, you've got like super like fast like muscle cars. You've got Mopar Mike. You got a phenomenal lineup of vehicles, and then your name Mopar Mike. You're talking about aftermarket and stuff. I mean, like I'm gonna tell you right now, like we're blessed to work for a short time with Tobin Dodge, the king of cars, with Josh and Rich Ackman way back in the day. And I'm going to tell you right now, they were killing it. They had the Lamborghini doors, the rims, and stuff like that. People like that shit. So I don't know. And then, so after you review all your lineup, right? Then what I would say, oh, you know what? Before I even go then, let me just say this. I'm looking for like videos right now for the Vanderhall, because you guys know that, shout out to Danny Zlowski, I'm in the process of getting my own customized black and orange Millionaire Mobile, the Vanderhall, and I'm trying to find videos on there, and it's freaking like pulling teeth. There's really very limited amount of quality videos on the Vanderhall, and so I'm sure it's the same thing. Let's just, even for Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you gotta look at like different colors. If I want a white Jeep Grand Cherokee, I don't want to see a black one, a red one. I want to see a white one. So think about this, Mike. You could create like a Ram 1500 in black, white, silver, red, blue. I mean, that's 5 different videos, but they're 5 different colors. Do you see what I'm saying? So you could create hundreds and hundreds, when I'm in LA, you could create hundreds and hundreds of different videos just on the models. I'm gonna keep flowing for a minute. Then once you create the reviews on these cars, you could turn around and compare them against their competitors. The Ram 1500 against the GMC Sierra, the Ram 1500 against the Silverado, the Ram 1500 against the Leviathan, Ford F-150. Then you've got the Jeep Grand Cherokee against what? Against the Explorer, against the Tahoe, against, you see what I'm saying? Like, you can have the vehicle reviews, the vehicle comparisons, the conquesting, and then I'm not done now. Like, I'll give you some airtime. Just let me finish this. Then you also have all the how-tos. How to buy a new car, how to buy a used car, how to get the most for your trade. What is a CPO, a certified pre-owned? What is the difference between a CPO and a pre-owned vehicle? What is the difference between a finance and a lease? What is better, a finance or a lease? What is the best way to get, the best rate on a finance? How do you get the best deal on a lease? Is it really pay to turn around and pay cash for a car? I mean, like, shit, I could come up with 50 million ideas for videos, but Mike, that is the first thing that you do. Create a shit ton of videos and optimize them to get indexed. Then once you have those videos, you can put those videos on your own personal website. You can put them all over social media. And if you optimize them the right way, you're going to have a completely dominating page 1 of Google for Googleopoly. LA?
Absolutely, man. You were killing it. So let me just say, because I heard you saying you got to figure out, what approach you should take, and I think that's part of what the problem is that people think they got to figure it out. What people got to do is be authentic, right? And so if you're not a funny guy, please don't try to do funny videos, right? If you're not a serious person, don't try to do serious videos. You got to be. That's what people get attracted to. That's what
authenticity
is. Absolutely, authenticity. So let me ask this question: where's Mike from? Real quick, if you can find out where Mopar Mike.
I do. Mopar Mike. He's Nelson Dodge.
Okay, cool.
North Jersey.
So let's ask this question: who is the number 1 salesperson in North Jersey, in the state of New Jersey? Who's the number 1 salesperson? If you're not thinking of a name, then that means there's opportunity for you, right? Why don't you make it your business to become the absolute best, the absolute number 1? Everybody knows me. It's like I'm a superstar. You gotta really think that way, right? Because if you think about who the number 1 pop star is, number 1 this is, number 1 that, you can think of that. But if you can't think of who's the number 1 salesperson, you need to make that you. So that means you need to be all over. Figure out what you got to do. Whether it's and I'm talking about whether you're at charity events, whether you're at radio.
Wait a minute, LA. Speaking of which, the number 1 person in the country, the GOAT, is here. You got Ali Reda just joined in us. You know what I'm saying? So Ali, I listen, man. Like this dude, 202 cars in December 2018. What? So exactly. So like Mike, he's right. You've got to watch the people that are doing really good. Look at the people that are selling 40, 50, 60, 80 units a month, 100 units a month. You should be friending them on all social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. Find out what their carrier pigeon's name is, what their carrier pigeon's flight route is, and you need to be obsessed studying that, because here that's the thing, is that's how most people get successful. They don't reinvent the wheel. They just recognize the game that these other people that have been there before them have been, doing it. Now, let's go into the
Yeah.
other aspect of this, though, LA. So let's just say that they're doing that, because I'm going to give Mike another thing. So more part, Mike. Let's say you have all these videos. I would say get your own website. Again, my daughter is tgotyourkeys.com. That's strong as hell. I would highly recommend that you get one of those. And again, she's got to build a brand website. Let me turn around and I'm gonna go from right here. I'm gonna share this right here. There we go. So this is
While you're
kind.
doing that,
Go ahead.
Sean.
I'm live.
So while you're doing that, let me ask you. Here's the other thing, and this is why I kind of call people on their stuff, is because I know people heard about the Internet Sales 20 group, and I just feel like there were salespeople, there were people there that their dealership didn't fund them to be there and all that good stuff. I feel like when people want that type of information, you need to go where the best of the best are, because when you talk about networking, man, that's the place to be. That girl, and shout out to Danielle. She was
Danielle.
there. She's got all types of, just people who are willing to help her now because she decided to do that. She's getting free access to, just she got people phone numbers that she can just call and ask questions and do all kind of stuff, man. So that it just troubles me, because I'm like, people want the information, but do you really want the information? Life is always asking you, how bad do you want it?
Yes, so I'm agreed, LA. So I'm on Tiana's website right now, and so once you have the website, so Mike, she's got her own website called T got your keys, and it's hashtag get your keys from T. And so the whole idea is driving massive traffic to the website. So how do you do that? By tagging everything, like your email address, your signature should have obviously your title, your name, and then the URL for your website. Remember all those videos that I was talking about? So check this out here. So if I go to YouTube, right? So if I go to YouTube right now and I just pick out, there he goes. I'm live streaming myself at the moment here, folks. But let's go through just Sean V. Bradley. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick out one of the videos. Okay, so this is like my new Vanderhall, but whatever, right? So okay, Sean. So if I was going to turn around and have this here, do you see this? Like the description, you should be putting your URL. So every video that you have should be http://www.moparmike.com and your cell phone number. So you have your web address and you have your cell phone number everywhere that you can think of. You are going to have it plastered everywhere that you can think of. Now, in addition to having it all over, then I would do Facebook paid ads, Mike. That is the single most beneficial, cost-effective thing that you can do, in my humble opinion, is invest in Facebook paid ads to drive traffic to your own website, and that's my opinion. Go ahead, LA. What do you want to speak on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Facebook ads. I think also, even it's crazy because having a YouTube channel, and just really pouring a lot into your YouTube channel is, I think, one of the biggest ways to do it. Because not only because you should definitely have a website, have to build a brand thing, but I think you got to have a lot of content. One of the gentlemen who basically created, the internet, he was around the very, very beginning. He said, the way this thing is going to work is, if you're uploading, you're making money. If you're downloading, you're spending money. That's how it's going to go. He said that. That was so simple. And so you got to think about, how much have you uploaded, or how much have you downloaded. If you haven't uploaded a lot, you're not going to make a lot of money. And it's really that simple.
Now, LA, you were talking about the people at the IS-20G. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of the people that went to the Internet Sales 20 group, I'm really proud to say, like, Gina has been putting them on board like crazy for Bradley and Amand. There's a lot of salespeople that are invested in themselves, in Bradley and Amand, Coach Burt, the Tony N Billion Dollar Girl. And what's kind of crazy on here is that, it is a complete video on demand training, tracking, testing, certification from everything from new hires in the industry to full-blown CRM to mastering phone sales to internet sales, showroom sales, everything from interviewing the top millionaire car salesman in the country, mindset, projecting, forecasting, the 8 ways to sell, the new road to sell, the traditional road to sell, everything from managers, from dealer principals to sales managers, desk managers, CRM managers, BDC directors, digital marketing managers, F&I, everything from Karen, from the time maximization, the 7 habits of highly effective people, work-life balance. And LA, what's even crazier is the full-blown social media, for whether it's for the dealership or the salespeople, like full-blown Facebook automotive, full-blown Instagram automotive, full-blown digital marketing lead source providers, all of the IS-20G, amazing speakers, Make Money Mondays, the Billion Dollar Girls, all that stuff. So again, to be able to have access to a $3+ million library that's a video on demand training, tracking, testing, certification, man, this is what I'm in all the time. I'm constantly going through the Bradley and Demand, from our amazing speakers and our affiliates that are in there. But again, let's go into the last thing that you like. One of the first things you said I want to kind of close out with is diversification. So let's say people start making money and they're not going to, waste it on stupid stuff. What would you suggest that they do with it, LA? How do they diversify their revenue? I'll tell you what I do, but I want you to go
Well,
first.
I got you. Well, it's a couple of different things. All right. So I'll talk about because I'm licensed in areas of finance, right? And so a lot of people don't really they think that it's not a great way to do it. But I'm telling you, if you're not going to really study money and finance, man, getting your hands in some diversified portfolio, if you can be able to create that, you will be. I know diversification. They're like, oh, that's for losers and all that different type of stuff. No, that's for people who don't have the time to, say, okay, I'm gonna grab a specific stock bond or anything like that and really study it. You need to allow the professionals to pretty much work for you. So, I would definitely say, I mean, I've got, stocks, bonds, I've got mutual funds, I've got a lot of different, I got money tied put in areas like that. I got money in real estate. I got money in lots of different things, but of course, I agree, Sean, that the number one thing you got to invest in is yourself. Because if you don't have the education, man, you're just gonna be lost. Your whole thought process is going to be off.
Yo, let me take it on here, brother, and we're gonna write on this too. So I agree. I'm gonna just give you all like my background and stuff. So that I invested in myself. I went to college for Russian. A lot of people don't realize that when I was 18, 19 years old, I caught my case when I was 19 years old. May 1996, I went to prison. May 1999, 3 years later, I came home. And I was a Russian major and cultural anthropology minor at Rider University. And back then, the school, back in like 1994, 1995, that shit cost me like $25,000 a year. It was crazy, um, you know, even back then. And I'm gonna tell you, none of that stuff is doing me any good. It's kind of cool when I could say, "Я говорю по-русски," I could say I speak Russian, and some people think that's cool, but it ain't making me any money. What makes me money is everything I invest in myself, from the all my time and energy I put into the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the Franklin Covey organization, being certified, on the foundations course and the signature course for the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. All the money that I've invested in the National Speakers Association, going through the ranks in the NSA, to becoming a CSP, to being in the elite $1 million speakers group, everything I invested in Toastmasters, everything that I invested in, honestly, for search engine optimization, video optimization, put myself into the International Academy of SEO, all that shit. It was self-education, all the classes I've been through, even from like people that I'm not even gonna mention, that I don't even rock with anymore, but going to all of these different workshops from industry people, everything from showroom training, F&I training, special finance training, management training, GM training, internet training, BDC training, phone sales training. It's just crazy, all that stuff. But now, as far as diversification goes, Karen and I, let's count, have a bunch of companies. We have Dealer Synergy, which is the big company. It's a training, consulting, recruiting, and accountability company. Then we've got Bradley and Demand. Bradley and Demand is our, virtual 24/7 video on demand training, tracking, testing, certification platform. Then we have the Internet Sales 20 Group Conferences. And we do those events once to twice a year, probably every 8-9 months we do the events. Our next one's going to be probably November 11th in Vegas, as you know. And so that's the third company. Then we have Dealer Video Production, which is a full-blown video production company we've owned for over 6 years. And we've, flown all over the United States to do video production for video optimization, for content on social media, websites, video CRM templates, social media, and everything in between. Now, outside the automotive industry, we have Sean V. Bradley Inc. Sean V. Bradley Inc. is a separate S corp that I use for all my royalties for my books. Remember, I'm a published author, best-selling author. So all those books and those speaking gigs that I get through, from my background in the National Speakers Association, they all go through that company. Then there's the Karina Bradley / Synergy Records, which is the whole KB music project that we did with you. In addition to that, as you know, Karen has her Fit Body Moms, which is health and fitness, and she's actually going through her certification as we speak for the NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, for personal training, weight loss specialists, and nutritionists. It's fucking crazy. The newest company that she just got incorporated in the last 30 days is this super, super powerful company called Scar Food. She's working with this amazing, brilliant, famous woman named Linda Dunn Carter, who's got offices in Miami, London, and all over the place. And she's got this beauty line stuff, which is out of my world. And then obviously me and my wife, we have a multi-million dollar real estate portfolio with a bunch of rental properties, townhouses, houses, condos, corporate buildings, etc. And Karen and I this weekend we're just looking at another $500,000 property that's distressed, that was originally like 900,000. We're about to scoop up for $500,000, make a quick flip of $190,000 on it. So again, yeah, we stay diversified, and we have money coming through, residuals, we got new contracts, we've got in and out of the automotive industry, and we are in officially the speaking industry, the automotive industry, the beauty industry, the fitness wellness industry, and real estate. We have 5 different industries that we're in. Our base is automotive, but I'm gonna tell you right now, like, if you think I'm gonna keep all my money automotive, you're fucking crazy. I'm following Grant Cardone's blueprint. I'm taking all the money I make from automotive and I am investing it in myself. See, unlike you, respectfully, I don't believe in mutual funds. I don't believe in stocks and all that other shit. I don't play the stock market. I don't believe anybody's ever gonna work harder than me for my own shit. And so if I put $1,000, or if I put $10,000 into a stock and they make me $1,000, how much money is my money making that stock that they're okay paying me that? And I honestly think I'm fucking brilliant for myself. I'm not, just saying, I think I'm smart enough for myself that I'd rather take every dollar I have and invest it in me or my own companies. And that's what's made me successful, is I don't owe anybody shit. I got no loans. I have no angel investors. I own 100% of my shit with my wife. And that's it. Oh, and one other thing we didn't mention is I'm also like straight locked up with insurance too. I mean, like, I've got insurance, we got lawyers on deck, team of lawyers. We've got insurance companies on deck. God forbid something happens to me. There's multi-million-dollar policy on me, multi-million-dollar policy on my wife. And God forbid something happens to me and my wife, there's millions and millions of dollars that are there. So it's not, when we talk about diversification and being financially sound, it's not just diversifying your money, it's also having the proper security and making sure that just in case some shit happens, everybody and everything's gonna be taken care of. So I can tell you right now, at 42 years old, God forbid I died tomorrow, my family's life is set, my legacy is in motion. You feel me?
Totally agree. I totally agree with that. That's one of the, I'm licensed in that area also. And of course, my family's in the same type of situation, a couple $1 million policies for myself and my wife. And so here's the other aspect of it. And a lot of people, it's a different conversation when you talk about mutual funds, things like that. The truth of the matter, though, because I own a huge number of shares of a bunch of different companies, I actually I have ownership in these companies that a lot of people can't say. So like the company Square, right? That's the company that, that when you swipe in your card at a lot of small businesses, and every time you do that, I get paid, right? every time, when it came to one of the things that I should have done, and I'll just talk about this, because in '07, when the iPhone came out, man, we were all sitting around in the studio, and we're like, oh my gosh, the iPhone thing is going to be amazing, right? And everybody bought iPhones, right? We should have been, I just believe I should have been buying Apple stock, because now every time somebody buys an Apple product, every time somebody, pays $9.99 for their Apple Music something, I'm making money, right? Every time that company makes money, I make money. So it's not about the company paying us. The company don't pay me a daggum dime. I am an owner in the company, right? And that's where a lot of people don't really understand, because when you're talking about mutual funds and stocks and things like that, there's three ways that you make money. Of course, there's the dividends. That's what you're talking about, Sean. But you also got, of course, the capital gain, and you got dollar cost averaging. There's different ways that you can make money. So I love looking at my portfolio, because sometimes, even the days that I'm feeling, I'm like, man, I don't got this amount of money. I look at my portfolio and I'm like, yo, I got money. Like, it's exciting. And so that's just, different thought processes, man. But that's why we said it's multiple ways.
Yes, and that's what I want to say, brother. You're not wrong, and I'm not wrong either. That's what I'm trying to say. There's multiple ways to get that money. It's just, it has to do with philosophy, strategy. You got to find your rhythm. You got to find what really works for you, what you believe in. And you're right, because I ain't, like, if somebody tried to give me some Amazon stock back in the day, or like, some Starbucks stock, I ain't stupid. I would take it too. I've watched people make $1 gazillion, off of stock. So I'm not shooting them down. I'm just saying, for me, because I'm a street dude, and I'm skeptical about shit, and especially if I don't know a lot about it. That's the other thing. You're obviously educated in that stuff. I'm not. I'm educated in grinding hard and hustling hard, and that's what I know. So I'm gonna invest in myself, because I know I'm a winner. You know what I mean? But if I were you, if I was doing all my research on a certain stock or starting a certain company, then yeah, too, I would be like, shit, I'm investing my money there because I feel confident. You know what I mean? But I'm not. But yo, I'm proud of you. You see what I'm saying? They're the capital gains. You're using them big words, LA. You're using them those college words, LA. You better stop. You're hurting them right now. You're hurting them.
Yeah. So this is beautiful, man. That was